Okay, so there we have it. The bass guitar is recorded in Pro Tools. All the information is in there, which is really nice. I'm also at this point going to put the playback engine back up to the high sample rate. And as you can see, everything's pretty nice and even coming in. So what we'll do is go through and just have a listen to all the individual parts. So we'll start off with the bass DI. So that's captured really well. We'll go over to the sansamp. That's also captured well. Let's go to the dark glass. Perfect. Culture Vulture. And finally the SSL. Awesome, so everything is captured really nice. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull the faders down on all of the distortion channels. Bass DI track, we can see on the first plugin insert we've got Auto Align. This is an awesome plugin if you want to get things in phase. This plugin enables you to really hone in on the exact sample rate that it's out and put it in phase. And how it works is you send on track 1 the bass DI, so as you can see it's been sent, and then it's been received on all of these other auto aligns. So as you can see on the sansamp, it's been received on 1. On the dark glass, it's been received on 1. Same with the Culture Vulture and same with the SSL. And what we're going to do is we flip it to delay and polarity. Usually I think it comes standard with just delay, but flip to delay and polarity. You basically play the DI track with the sansamp, which we've just brought the level up of. Press detect, and it's going to detect the difference in phase between the two. So if I press play now, you'll see this number change. So we press detect, press play. So as you can see, it changed to 165. Now that is the amount of samples that it's out between the bass DI and the sansamp. I don't know if you heard it, but it popped into focus for me. So I'm going to turn this plugin on and off, and you'll hear that it is out of phase with the DI. And then when we flip it in, you should hear the bottom end become a little bit more intact. So we'll start with it off, and I'll flip it on. So hopefully you can hear what I'm hearing. With it off, it seems just a little bit separate to the DI. But then with it on, I can even hear information in the mid-range frequencies that pops into focus, and it just sounds so much nicer with it in. The bottom end feels more intact. Mid-range feels more focused. I can actually hear it in the middle of the speakers more, if that makes sense. It doesn't seem like it's coming out to the sides as much. And it's basically putting it in phase by 165 samples. Realistically now, those two are perfectly in phase, the bass DI and the sansamp. I'm going to just bring the fader down on the sansamp, open up the auto align on the dark glass, and do exactly the same thing. We're on delay and polarity. We'll press detect, and we'll press play, and put them in phase. So a bit quicker with that one, and it's out by 251 samples. So let's have a listen on and off. We'll start with it off, and I'll flip it in so you can hear the difference. Again, does exactly the same thing as what we did with the sansamp. It puts everything really nicely into focus. So the dark glass and the sansamp are now both in phase with the DI. So let's have a play around with the level of these. I'll introduce a little bit of sansamp and a little bit of dark glass just to create a little bit more coloration on the channel. So the great thing about these two is the sansamp has got more of a darker distortion sound to it, and the dark glass has got a nice top end. So we've got two different flavours of distortion that we can add. We'll hear in context of the drums a little bit better to get the level, but for now we're just going to keep the levels where they are. We'll mute the tracks, and we're going to do the same with the Culture Vulture. We're going to put that in phase. So we'll press detect, we're on delay and polarity. $197 samples out, and I'll give you a listen on and off. We'll start with it off. So I'm hearing a lot more of the upper mid-range becoming more in phase on this. The bottom end seems to be intact, so it's just sorting a lot of the higher frequencies out. Great tone. Finally, we'll do the same thing with the SSL. So delay and polarity, press detect. Okay, so that popped into focus at 251 samples. Let's have a listen back. We'll start with it off. It's definitely put it into phase to my ears, and that's it. So all of these bass signals are now in phase.